How's it going, and welcome back to the channel. Today we will be installing the Coober ECU decat kit with an airbox cover as well for the KTM 390 Adventure. We have our list of instructions which I downloaded yesterday.
So Nat, why would somebody want to install the Coober ECU upgrade onto the KTM 390 Adventure?
To give the bike a bit more oomph, a bit more power.
Down low power they claim, isn't it?
Yep.
A bit more sort of off-road.
Yep.
Sort of where you want the power in that low down rev range, hopefully.
That's the plan anyway.
Also the airbox lid is a bit upgraded.
Yes.
For better airflow. And obviously that in conjunction with the decat header pipe should definitely improve the torque of the engine. Alright, so what do we got?
We have the upgraded airbox lid, which allows more airflow through here. We have the exhaust decat header pipe. We
do have a port for the lambda sensor.
So we have the wiring harness for the ECU.
Finally, the main attraction.
Yep.
So the tools that you will need will depend a lot on what add-ons you have on your bike and what exhaust you have and whatnot. But this is what we've ended up using. What do we got here?
We've got zip ties or cable ties, whatever you want to call them. We have got a 7mm Allen key. We've got a T-bar 4mm Allen key and just a normal standard 4mm Allen key. We've got a 5mm T-bar Allen key and a 5mm normal Allen key. We've also got a 5mm socket Allen key. We have a 10mm and a 13mm spanner, a 10mm socket, 12mm socket, extension bar, ratchet, side cutters, and we also have a shifter.
And an O-light headlamp if you don't have good lighting.
Alright, so first step is to remove the seat. That's nice and easy.
Or the seats, if you have the two original seats.
Thank you. Okay, so you'll need a 5mm Allen key to take the ignition cover off.
When you remove this ignition cover, make sure to remember that you've got an earth lead here. You don't want to forget to put that back on when you're putting it back together. Alright, so what's next?
Okay, so you want a pair of side cutters because there's a zip tie just in here that's holding all the wires and stuff together. You're going to want to snip that off. So it turns out that you have to take some plastics off to be able to access the side of your engine a bit better. So there's a couple of screws at the front here that we need to undo. You need a 4mm Allen key to get those out. You've also got a 4mm Allen key screw that needs to come out of there as well. And you also need a socket to get that off. And you just want to pop that off there.
So we're just removing a couple of side panels to make it easier to access all the wiring, and we also need to run the harness from up here near the battery down to the front of the engine.
Alright, so there was a bolt under here that required a 4mm Allen key to remove that, just under there. There's also behind here, there's a plug that fits into something like that. You need to pop that off as well.
Okay, so that's just so we can have enough room to poke the plugs down through the chassis there.
Okay, so with a bit of fiddle work.
It's a bit of a mission.
Yeah, it was a little bit with all the plugs. So I've gone down through here, in between there, and just here on this side, and then on the inside of the framework, and this is it here. Okay, so once you've got your harness wired where you want it and out through here, up in the top here where the ignition coil is, these two wires of the harness that are on their own have got to go across the engine to the other side of the bike. So I'm going to feed those through here, right on the top there, all the way over to the other side, like so.
So obviously we'll go through and zip tie the harness to the frame once we've got it all connected up. Alright guys, so the basic principle is we need to tap into the bike stock harnesses with all these plugs. So the first one we're doing that is
the injector. So there is a grey plug right here where the screwdriver is pointing to.
So it took two of us to get that off there. It was quite tight. You've got to push in exactly the same plug as this one, so it's like that in the bike. You basically need to press on the top there to release it and pull up. So we had a screwdriver levering in there while one of us was pushing the button in, and we levered it off. What we got there, it's just need to fully pop it off now, and then we can connect up these other plugs. Okay, so the plug from the Coober harness that matches the injector plug, we need to put that onto where we just removed the stock injector plug from, and then the plug that we removed from the injector goes to this one. Easy peasy, if you can get your hands in there.
Alright, so if you have a look in there, we've connected the Coober harness to the injector down there. That's the original connector that came off the injector, and now we're just going to plug the other section of the Coober harness for the injector into the connector, just like so. Up around the ignition coil, you've got the crank signal connector, which is this one here. You're going to want to pull those apart, and in one end you're going to put this plug from the Coober ECU harness into one end, and this one into the other end of the stock harness.
So we're just tapping into the crank angle sensor, same as what we did with the fuel injector. It's just a little bit easier to get to this one.
So that one is going to go into here, like so. And the other one is going to go into the other end of the stock harness, like so. Okay, so now we're going to connect the Coober ignition section of the harness to the stock ignition coil part of the harness. So this is the ignition coil. We're going to remove this plug here. There we go. You're going to want to put that into this part, like so, until it clicks, and then you know it's in there properly. And then this part is going to go into here, like so.
Okay guys, on the right hand side of the bike we have the throttle position sensor. It's covered up with a rubber sleeve which you'll need to remove first, and then there's a button on the clip that you need to press on the inside. It's a bit tricky. Two people helps, one person pushing the button, the other person levering the plug off with a screwdriver or something. We've loosened it anyway. Do you want to pull it off?
Holy smokes, that was freaking tight.
Yeah, that one's a bit tricky to get out.
So these are your throttle position sensor plugs. So your Coober ECU plug is going to connect to the stock plug, just like that. And then the other end is going to go into
the throttle housing.
Yep.
Or whatever it is. Alright, I think that's all of our sensors connected up.
Yep. Okay, so this is a ground wire, and you want to connect that to your negative terminal on your battery.
And then basically purple and yellow plug goes into your Coober ECU, and you can mount that here underneath the seat however you like. We're going to go through and tidy up all the wiring and zip tie everything into place so everything's nice and secure, and we'll figure out where we're going to mount the ECU itself, and we'll come back to you once we've done all that. But yeah, we've got the negative ground wire on there now, so all good. Okay, so we have zip tied that plug there on the right hand side of the bike. Tried to sort of keep the cable tidy there, it's not too bad. On this side it's a little bit more tricky because we've got a lot of plugs in there, but we've just zip tied them up as best we can. Now we're going to bolt the coil back in. So as I said earlier, don't forget your little ground wire here goes behind one of these bolts. Alright, so some of you guys might actually have a tray. Was there a tray
I think so.
in here? So we've removed that previously so that we could fit the snorkel pre-filter, is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah, so to fit the ECU in here you may need to remove that tray. I don't remember exactly what was involved with that, but it was pretty easy. So to mount the ECU, we've got a zip tie up around this metal bar here. We're going to zip tie that through the little lug there on the ECU itself, and we've drilled a small hole right here in this fin to just zip tie around the other end of the ECU to hold. So hopefully it'll be fairly sturdy in there, we'll see anyway. There's probably 100 different ways you could mount this up in here, double-sided tape or whatever. So obviously, basically you just want it to be sturdy in there, not flopping around when you're riding over bumps and slamming around. So as long as it's not going to go anywhere, which it certainly ain't, as long as we can get the seat back on now without anything interfering, we should be right. And we'll zip tie this earth wire up somewhere here too, just to make it nice and neat. Alright, we're going to go ahead and put the panels back on the side of the bike here, just the front fairing and the bolt that holds this one back on, and that will be the ECU done. So we've put various zip ties along the harness wire down here, so yeah. Right, we're going to quickly throw on the airbox lid. Pretty basic, guys. There's 6 4mm Allen key bolts to undo. So we'll quickly do that. So we've got a foam backing on this airbox lid. Obviously it lets a bit more air through. You probably could oil that if you wanted to. I think it's going to be hard to clean it if you do that.
Okay, so that's part 1 done, the installation of the Coober ECU for the KTM 390. Next part is going to be fitting the decat header pipe. Hopefully that's going to be the easy part.
Alright, let's get the bash plate off so we can get this exhaust on.
Yo. Okay, so we've taken off the bash plate and now we are up to removing the O2 sensor from the exhaust. But first you're going to want to snip that zip tie that's just there. It just allows you to have more play in the cable, because if you start taking it off, it's going to twist it all up while it's still in there, and it's probably not a good idea.
The size for the oxygen sensor is officially shifter size.
We've got 2 nuts up here at the top of the header pipe where it joins the engine. They are a 12 mil. You're going to want to get those ones undone now.
And we're hoping that this crash bar is not going to be in the way.
Yes, very much so.
Alright, so just to make it a bit easier, we're taking the rear of the exhaust off as well, but it's going to depend on what pipe you have and whatnot. If you happen to have the great big resonator in the swing arm still, you may have to get that thing out. It's a bit of a mission, but yeah, doable. Thankfully we don't have it anymore. Right, looks like the header pipe's going to come past our crash bar. Sweet. Yeah, so that's the new pipe next to the old pipe. Alright, let's get her in there.
Okay.
Okay, so the header's in place. We don't want to tighten anything up yet until we get everything connected. So we're going to put the mid pipe and the muffler on. Get everything just, you know, connected up loosely, and then we start tightening from the front to the back. So while Nat's tightening up the exhaust header and stuff, I'll go ahead and refit the oxygen sensor. What we actually did was zip tied it while it was still twisted up with the correct number of turns to get it back in there. So hopefully with the new exhaust, you know, we'll be able to thread it in there without it getting all twisted up, because it's almost perfect.
Beautiful.
Alright. Don't forget to zip tie your little wire up here.
Yep. Okay, so that's the exhaust installed and the bash plate back on, and it's getting a little late in the evening to start up the bike, so we're going to get up in the morning and we'll start her up and see how it sounds and make sure everything's working as it should.
Righto, she's all back together and looking good. We just need to make sure it's going to run, and we'll be doing a review of, you know, our thoughts of how much it's improved the bike in another video, so keep an eye out for that. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and you won't miss it. I reckon it's going to be loud because we've already, as you guys know, we've removed the resonator from in the swing arm there. So all we got is this little exhaust, and yeah.
And it's straight through. There's no baffle in it, nothing.
No more catalytic converter.
No.
Alright, fire it up. It's going to be loud in here, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know. Alright, we're in neutral. Alright, let's go. Earplugs in. 3, 2,
Fire and hold.
1. Okay, that's the end of the install video of the Coober ECU and DCAT
pipe. If you want to grab yourself a Coober ECU or header pipe or the whole kit, guys, check out the link in the description. And big thanks to Coober for supplying this stuff to us. It's much appreciated. Hope this video has helped out some of you guys with your install, if you do end up getting one. Thanks guys, see you in the next vid.